Hey everyone, it's DQ Reads. So this week, I honestly don't feel like filming as much as I usually do. I mentioned in the last video, it's my very first week that just passed at my new job, and I don't know why, but I have very little to no motivation to make a video. So because I don't really feel like filming, I thought, what part do I not feel like doing? And it is honestly just like going upstairs, getting my computer, getting my camera, doing all that. So I was like, hey, I'm just going to do it on my phone, see how it goes. I'm not going to have the intro that I usually have. So if I continue to film like this or do this more often, I'll make sure to add that intro on my iPad so I can add it while editing. Maybe I'll do it next week the right way. I don't know. Anyway, on to the books. I did just finish The Testaments by Margaret Atwood, and I wanted to talk about that as well as The Handmaid's Tale. So having reread The Handmaid's Tale and read The Testaments by Margaret Atwood, I wanted to definitely talk about it. So first I'm going to start with The Handmaid's Tale, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars. And the reason for this is because I thought it was just a really good story. It was really well done. The story was told really well, and when I read it the first time and the second time, I always had this weird feeling that it was like written like hundreds of years in the future. Like this is something that could totally have happened. This whole world is something that could totally happen, and whoever wrote this is like talking about history and making a story around history and not something that hasn't actually ever happened, and I mean hopefully never does happen. So if you don't know the general storyline of The Handmaid's Tale, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what the world is like. Light Handmaid's Tale spoilers, just so you know, I do talk about the way the world works, which is a huge part of the book and is revealed in the book. And in that world, women are very suppressed. However, some women are completely in agreement with this. And basically, the government deems who they think is fit to be a wife, and all the men with power or some sort of high-paying job are a commander. And I might be getting some of this wrong because I'm obviously not an expert on this book or anything. And I will admit it's a little confusing because it's such a complex and intricate book, I find, and storyline. And I think that's what makes it seem so real, is because it's so complex. The husbands, so there's two kind of like classes of people, and that's the econo people and the higher up people. So those that I assume are in just like really high paying prestigious jobs are the commanders, and then they kind of choose their wives based on who I think they are interested in, I believe is how that works. And then the other class kind of works the same way, and they're people that just have more generic jobs. Now, in this society, only men hold jobs. So that's interesting. And then anyone who, I know when the first area of this book started, anyone who was deemed slutty would have to become a handmaid if they were also able to have and carry children, which means that if you had more than one spouse before, if you've slept with more than one person, those kind of things would deem you a slut. And that's the kind of life you would live. If you were pure and all that kind of stuff, I believe you were eligible to become a wife. That's my understanding of it anyway. So the first book is about the life of one of the handmaids, the person who is forced to have sex with one of the commanders and basically carry the baby for them. It's a pretty wild world, and it's so weird because the story of this is kind of revealed in the first one a lot more of like how the world works and stuff. And I read The Testaments, which is also really good. I didn't like it quite as much as The Handmaid's Tale. I felt that it wasn't as impressive, I guess you could say, in like the writing and like feeling all the different parts of the world and how everything works and melds together. It didn't feel the same to me. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars because of this. I didn't feel like it was as groundbreaking or amazing, and I think honestly just because the storyline in general was so groundbreaking that the first book, no matter what it was, would have been amazing. The second one also is written from the perspective of 3 different people, which is pretty cool because you get to see different viewpoints that you didn't before. But it's, I don't know, I don't think it's the strongest for this. You also, I find it's a little bit more confusing in how things worked, and I just found it overall slightly more confusing and less, I guess impressive is the best word. I wasn't as impressed with this one as I was with The Handmaid's Tale, and I honestly think that's just because it's the second. The storyline in general is so amazing, but it's really just continuing that storyline, so it's not as new and exciting as it was in the first book. So that's my little baby review of these books. I tried to give very little away, especially for the Testaments, but I know by explaining the world of The Handmaid's Tale, it did kind of give some spoilers away, since a huge part of that first book is just learning the world that the characters live in and the society. Thank you so much for watching. I post videos every Monday at 2:15 Eastern Standard Time. Please like this video and comment down below if you've read either of these books and if you've liked them.